What in the world was that?
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yahtzee.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, postcast edition. I'm Zac Blackerby, Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio vet, hanging out with us as he does every single post-game show this season. Auburn falls to Ole Miss 28-21, and somehow it felt like that was the right score, and then somehow it feels like Auburn got blown out because of the ineptitude of the offense, Darrell. And there's a million places where we could start to discuss this offense and how far it has to go to be somewhat confident in its ability to move the football and get first downs and score points in the SEC. It has so many different things it needs to fix. But let's go holistic here. Big picture. This is all on Hugh Freeze. This is all on Hugh Freeze in one way or another, whether it's the evaluations that he made in the transfer portal, whether it's the quarterback rotation crap that we continue to see over and over and over again. Look, we saw both of them. It's pretty close. It's pretty even. Just pick one at this point. You're getting paid $6 million a year. Just pick one. I get that it's a tough decision. You've got to pick a quarterback at this point. And then just some procedural stuff, where it's like, how many times, Darrell, was it 3rd and 1? And then you look up and it's 3rd and 6 and they don't convert. That's on the head coach, lack of discipline, all of this. Look, Hugh Freeze can still be the guy, Darrell. He can still be the guy. I think he is the guy. But what happened Saturday night was abysmal, and I think just a shame, an absolute shame that Auburn people had to watch that unfold.
Yeah, I'm going to go big picture here. First of all, the key point that you just made is I still think he's the guy. And I still think, even though we're in this age of NIL and transfer portal, where it should expedite some results on the field, we're still in a situation where other coaches around the SEC, Florida State's coach, it took a couple of years. I think it's a shorter window because of the NIL and transfer portal. But I remember guys being 3 and 4 their first years in the SEC and still winning 6 or 7 games. I'm not saying Auburn will. I'm saying Auburn could. So, yeah, I agree that Hugh Freeze is the guy, but there's some things from a mismanagement standpoint to this point in the season. You called it. You were comfortable saying Auburn would be 3 and 4 coming out of the first 7 games. I thought 4 and 3. It's how we got here.
Sure.
It's how Auburn looks. There's no way, if someone would have bet me $1 million that a Hugh Freeze-led offense would look worse than a Cadillac Williams-led offense on a 1-week preparation. And, Zach, I'm not exaggerating. That's the truth. Auburn's offense last year against Mississippi State looked better than it did the last 3 games with 9 months of Hugh Freeze. That's unacceptable. And I have no answer as to why that is. I think you touched on it. The quarterback situation, the in and out is killing momentum.
And we saw bigger chunks, right? Like we saw full drives, which is better. Yeah. It's better than what it was. There were situations though where Robbie would have a run and make it 3rd and short, and they'd bring Peyton in, and it's like, what are you doing?
Well, and then they bring Peyton in and
sense?
And then they have 12 guys on the field, and that kills you. It goes to 3rd. That's inexcusable. Look, when you say it falls on Hugh Freeze, it does because of what evaluation. Transfer portal.
And Darrell, I'm sorry. And even if we don't know some of the procedures, right? Like we don't know who's technically making the call with the quarterbacks. We don't know who's technically calling all of the plays, whatever. A lot of people around me in the stands were yelling to fire Philip Montgomery at halftime, whatever. But if it is all on Philip Montgomery, Hugh Freeze at some point has to step in and say, bro, this is ridiculous. This is not acceptable, the product that you're putting on the field. So I can hear people saying, well, it's Philip Montgomery's fault. And sure, but Hugh Freeze has to step in and stop
the head coach. It stops with the head coach. If you're the head coach and you let Philip Montgomery look that inept, then it's on you. I'm sorry. If you let Philip Montgomery look like a clown with some of those play calls, and we'll get to some later, and you have too many guys in the huddle, then that's on you. And look, undisciplined penalties like that are also a reflection upon the head. I love Eugene Asante, but what in the world are you doing? And look, he could have gotten one earlier in the game when he torpedoed the sidelines and just missed a guy on an incomplete pass, or the pass that they tackled him 4 yards short. Go back and watch the tape. He torpedoed and just missed him out of bounds. That's undisciplined. That's on the head coach. If you're letting Philip Montgomery wear clown shoes when he's calling plays, that's undisciplined. That's on the head coach. Take it away from him. The buck stops with you, bro. Take the play calling away from him then.
It's bad. What we saw Saturday night was really, really bad. And it's been a few hours since the game ended. I'm home. I've been reflecting on the drive home. Darrell, I can't get over. I'm getting mad just about bringing it up again. I can't get over the play call with the double pass to Holden Geriner. They had the nerve to put an arm sleeve on the third string quarterback to make it look like he was a wide receiver, to stack him as a receiver in a stack formation on the left side, and throw a vertical to him, thinking there'd be enough time in a series where Auburn has not allowed its quarterbacks to throw the ball deep, with the exception of Robbie throwing it towards the end of the first half, which I was fine with the throw, honestly. But you're not going to let Robbie or Peyton throw it deep, but you're going to be okay with Holden Geriner just launching one. And no disrespect to Holden Geriner, but if you have that respect in Holden Geriner, why isn't he on the field?
Let's reset the situation there. Why this is even a bigger travesty. Number one, let's call a spade a spade. They should have been running that play from the 25-yard line. The play right before that, they missed an obvious face mask. Okay, that's not why Auburn lost the game. I'm just spitting facts. That play should have taken place on the 25, not the 40.
Okay.
You're in second down right there. Throw a screen pass. Throw something short to ensure you get points. In a game where your defense is playing its backside off, points matter. And that would have been 21-17 at that point. I don't remember. 21-17. It doesn't matter. It's points, and it gives you something positive to come out of that. The double pass play call knocked them out of field goal range and completely killed that drive. Horrible play call. And not only that, Ole Miss, you could hear it on television, Zach. You were at the game. You couldn't. They were screaming double pass, double pass. I had PTSD. I went back to the days that Gus Malzahn would line up in a formation and the defense would call out the plays. Remember that? I thought we were past all that ish. I really did. I thought we were done with that crap. And we're not. We run something that obvious. It fails. It gets us out of field goal range. Again, you should have been running that play from the 25.
Yeah, so there's the field goal range aspect of it, Darrell.
Right.
Then there's why is Holden being asked to throw the ball, not the two guys in the depth chart in front of him? There's also the angle of, if you're going to do that, why wouldn't you put Robbie out there? We've been waiting for this all. I'm shocked we didn't see it Saturday night, especially when they started to get a little desperate. Why? You're telling me there's not a formation where Peyton and Robbie aren't on the field at the same time? You're telling me that. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. At least then the defense has to look at 9 over there and say, okay, he's fast. He's electric. We may need to treat him like a wide receiver. Doesn't make sense.
Plus, he could have probably.
It's like one of the worst play calls I've ever seen.
He's more likely to evade the tackle too, right? Because of his athleticism. Holden Geriner's a sitting duck there. He's a pocket passer. He doesn't have the athletic. You throw that out to Robbie, and the pass downfield's not there because they chipped Jeremiah Cobb, then Robbie might be able just to take off and run. He's got that option. He could sidestep and avoid a defender where Holden Geriner was a sitting duck.
But also the play design, you're telling me that a defender's not going to chip Jeremiah Cobb there?
He almost tackled him. He blocked him coming out of the backfield, and it was there was another route on the backside that was all the way across the field that was open to the other sideline. But Joe Montana doesn't make that throw. Yeah, that's a horrible. You can't expect him to make that throw.
Unbelievable. All right, let's talk about more disappointing stuff in a second. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is the best place to find the best candidates to help your small business grow. Darrell, you use LinkedIn Jobs. You believe in it. You trust it. I believe you said it was a welder that you went out and got.
Big get for us. 5-star.
5-star welder through LinkedIn Jobs. So be like Darrell. Pick up 5-star recruits for the positions open in your small business. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The next step with quarterback. Darrell, we've talked about this all year, but he's got to pick one. He has to pick one. I don't care which one it is. I don't care if it's Peyton or Robbie or Holden or Hank Brown. I do not care. You have to pick one at this point. It is your job as a head coach to make tough decisions. You have to make the tough decision. You have to. If you're worried about how it impacts the locker room, you've got other issues and you got to address those too. But moving forward, it's ludicrous. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense at this point. Especially when Peyton started to heat up a little bit there. Then during the course of the game, it looked visibly more effective when Robbie was on the field. So I get the arguments for both. I really, really do. And it's close, Darrell, between those two. It's close. But you got to pick one moving forward. You have to. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
The post-game press conference, he was asked, the shuffling of quarterbacks in and out, is it killing this offense? And he said, and this is where the lack of self-awareness is surprising to me because I expect more out of Hugh Freeze from this. He's so dang competitive that I cannot believe he's allowing this to happen. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
To say it did not affect the outcome of the game is the biggest head in the sand comment I've heard since the Chandler Cox Spinner-Rooney handoff was going to work. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you say.
And at least Gus, after that game, I was at that press conference. He talked about. He's like, "Yeah, we thought it was going to work." At least he kind of addressed it. This one's a little different. He's drawn a line in the sand, and he must.
I think you touched on it. I think he's afraid of losing a faction of the locker room, and he's afraid of either Robbie or Peyton Thorne checking out if he gives the job to one permanently. So what? I get it. So what? And I do believe he said Robbie still helps us in certain packages. Yeah, against group of 5 teams when it's first and goal from the 5. Robbie had trouble running against Ole Miss. He couldn't get outside because their linebackers were so quick. He had a couple nice runs between the tackles. Ultimately, if you'd have told me that Auburn's quarterbacks would have been 11 of 17 for 122 yards, a touchdown, and 1 interception, I probably would have been okay with that, thinking that Auburn would have went for 200 on the ground, and they didn't. They only went for about 153. And to me, that's a big difference in your ball game, especially the way Ole Miss ran it. So from a quarterback, and a lot of that, let's be honest, was garbage time. Peyton Thorne on that last drive, but they did some things on that last drive that I was just wanting to throw something against the wall and go, why haven't you been doing this all game? Slants, throwing the ball to Fairweather. Ole Miss was trying to keep Auburn from scoring. Lane Kiffin said it. He said, I hate that we gave up a touchdown there. So it still counts. It's still a 1-score game. People will, absolutely downplay that and go, oh, that game, that should have been – well, no, it's a touchdown. They were trying to stop you, and you were trying to score, and you scored. But where was that earlier in the game? Maybe let Thorne play for a couple consecutive series and run that kind of offense and see what would have happened. Now, was Ole Miss
let Robbie try it. I don't care.
Sure.
Let whoever do it.
Now they could have been in prevent, and that's why those slants and those crossing routes were there. I'll just have to be realistic on that. I don't know, but still, it is what it is.
Yeah. I feel so bad for this defense. Because the effort is certainly there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me say this. I do too, but you set a tone on that first drive by not getting off the field twice when it was 3rd and long. One was 3rd and 17. that Auburn got bailed out on because there was a holding penalty. There is no excuse. I don't care what kind of defense you run. I don't care who you're playing. 3rd and 22 on a run play is absolutely pathetic. And if they could have walked Ron Roberts out of the press box after that, I would have been fine. Now, to his credit, he settled down in their defense to hold that Ole Miss team in the 20s. Good job. And they just got
similar to LSU, right? I mean, where Ole Miss came on and scored real quick, similar to LSU. LSU got to 17 real quick. Ole Miss got to 14 pretty quickly. And then after that, they settled down, and
they did.
And then, eventually they just got worn down, right? And then
still, even being worn down, only gave up 28. I mean, and really that first touchdown, you should not have given up. Sorry, shouldn't have. Right. Now, I don't know how the rest of the game would have played out. But how big would have those points would have been if you got off the field and made them kick a field goal instead of getting a touchdown on 3rd and 22? That again, coaching. That's terrible.
Yeah.
You call timeout if you have to, if you see them lined up like that, if you're the head coach and go, no, Ron, we're not going to be in this particular defense. It's horrible. Mm-hmm. That set the tone. For
not
me.
To make an excuse, but that DPI on Nehemiah Pritchett was bogus.
It was. And, I get it, but that wasn't the DPI before the 3rd and 22. It was.
I don't know, it was on a 3rd down.
Yeah. What happened was the announcer said 2 bad penalties offset each other. Ole Miss's holding call that basically made the drive. They didn't get a first down, and then Auburn's pass interference call, which kept the drive alive. But then Auburn gave up 3rd and 22 after that. After the pass interference, they had them 3rd and 22. So, again, you were chasing points from that point in the ball game because your defense can't get off the field 3rd and 22. Credit to them for turning it around and only giving up 3 more touchdowns. The other, 3.5 quarters of football, that's big against Ole Miss, but still, that is inexcusable to give up a 3rd and 22 on a running play.
Sure.
Period.
Yeah. Ole Miss was 2 for 11 on 3rd down. So the 3rd down defense got significantly better.
It did. What was Auburn on 3rd down? Because for a while they were over 50%. And then at second half,
that did not happen. 4 of 14 on 3rd down.
Yeah.
Which is about
that they missed on 7 in a row, 3rd downs.
That sounds right. I mean,
so they were at one point
right
like
the game.
They were like 4 of 8, 4 of 7 at one point. You're like, woohoo! And then boom, the bottom dropped out.
The path gets easier, right? Moving forward.
Well,
and this is what we said, with our preseason predictions. I said Auburn's going to lose these 4, and then it gets easier, and I went out until the Iron Bowl, and that could still happen. You look at Mississippi State next week. They beat Arkansas. Maybe they're better than we thought. I think Arkansas is worse than a lot of us thought. Vandy's Vandy. So it's like you can win all of those games. You can certainly win all of those games.
And you could lose all but one as well. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
There's a scenario. This is before we hit record, my strong opinion on this season is going to be defined and graded by the next 5 games, not the previous 7 Auburn just played. Because we kind of knew that was going to be a tough stretch. Now, again, I felt like they were going to be 4-3. You felt like they were going to be 3-4. So they're right where you thought they were going to be. I just don't think that you thought they're going to look like they do getting there. So
this is the first time I don't think this team feels like a 7-5 team, Darrell.
Yeah. But the next 5 games will define this team, this season, and this coaching staff. Because if you go 2-3 in the next 5 games and go 5-7 this year, you're behind you're behind your as far as your plan, what you're trying to build. You're behind the 8 ball. You're behind. You're not on schedule. You're behind schedule. If you win and get to a bowl game, if you win 3 of the 5 and get to 6 wins and go to a bowl game, I think you're on schedule. If you were to do something pretty crazy and win 4 of the last 5 and be competitive in the Iron Bowl, then I think you'd put yourself and then win a bowl game and finish 8-5, then you could be a little bit ahead of schedule. It's all there. That it's going to be defined in the next 5 games. We're not going to have to guess. It's going to be there.
Yes. And I think, I agree with that for the most part. There is an aspect of like, okay, if this roster like isn't good, like if we're going to blame this on the roster, and tonight we're blaming it more on Coach Freeze, I think, than the roster, but the roster's not good, right? Like the roster's got a long way to go. And I think this roster is going to be totally different next year. Like part of me thinks like, does this even matter? Do the next few games even actually matter? I mean, I don't think any of the quarterbacks, with the exception of Hank Brown, are going to be on this roster next year. I think you're going to see a mass exodus in the wide receiver room, and you're going to see a bunch of new guys come in. The offensive line is going to look different. They're going to have to get a bunch of defensive backs because the whole defensive back room's about to go to the NFL. Like, I don't know. Like, does winning
Yes,
7 games
yes,
instead of 6?
Yes.
You think it still matters?
It absolutely matters. It absolutely matters in year one. If you and I are sitting at after the New Mexico State game, and we're talking about Auburn being 7-4 going into the Alabama game, you don't think that freaking matters? Or 6-5 and going, Auburn's got to check. Yes, it matters. It absolutely matters. It gives and playing in a bowl game matters, and giving some of these younger kids an opportunity to get more practices and recruits to see it. It matters. The whole feeling. Okay, we talked about this last year. This is like deja vu. You said the exact same, and I'm not calling you out. I'm just laying facts. You said the exact same things last year, and then how did you feel after Texas A&M? A new day, hope.
Sure.
It didn't matter. We weren't going to a bowl, but it was like, this thing can get turned around. There was a
little different scenario, but sure.
But I mean, winning does make you have a different outlook and have hope. You string 2 or 3 together, and the whole complexion, the whole feel around the program completely changes.
Yeah,
Trust
no,
me.
I get it. I get it. And look,
So
I want
in
Auburn
that
to win
case,
all
it
of it.
matters. It matters. It absolutely does.
Got it. So one last thing, and I just want to clarify. I want Auburn to win these games.
I know you
don't want
do.
that phrase the wrong way. Them starting Robbie Ashford at quarterback, does that mean anything?
Starting them when he came out for the first series last night, you mean?
Yep.
I'll tell you what it meant to me was that it was a futile, kind of feeble attempt to just please the masses. I think it was for kind of a show, throw a bone at the crowd that's been saying Thorne sucks, and I want to see Robbie. So Hugh Freeze gave the people what they wanted on a small sample, and just, here you go. I'll make you happy. Enjoy it. But he didn't stay with them. So the substance of it to me had really no meaning. It was a little smoke and mirrors and a little bit just ceremonial. I'm going to throw him out there, and because people have been calling for it, and I'll give you what you want, and it's symbolic, and that's it. There was no meat to it. It was leave him in there for the next series. And
do we like that? Do we like that happen?
No, see, that's placating. That's not. If you,
I don't think your head coach should care. If that's why he did it, he shouldn't care about that stuff.
Did he do it? Then why did he do it? Because he thought starting him one series gave them the best chance to win. Well, then if he did, then leave him in for series 2 and series 3, like you said when we kicked the show off. If he's good enough to start, then
play him.
I don't know.
Full-time quarterback.
I'm more perplexed at stuff like that if I would have said there is absolutely no way the Hugh Freeze I saw coach at Ole Miss and Liberty would do silly stuff like that. And I don't know. I don't know. People get to Auburn, lose their minds. People talk about interference and all. I don't buy a lot of that, but he's not. I thought he was cutthroat, man. I thought he was like, I don't care what you think. I don't care if you get mad. This is my program. I want to win at all costs, like it or lump it. And he seems to be placating too much. And the other thing too, look, I'm going to just say it. I said it on some Discords and on Twitter. I love the kind of recruiter he is. I love it. I love that he's done some things in the transfer portal that looked like it was an impressive transfer portal class. Turned out that it hasn't, but it's not. But you still have to have proof of concept on the field. And this whole him admitting that he's staying with recruits in the recruiting lounge an hour before kickoff, I get it. You got to have the Jimmies and Joes, but you also have to come up with a game plan that allows those Jimmies and Joes to look somewhat competent on the field. Maybe needs to back off that a little bit and try to get a little balance there and say, okay, I got to go draw up some things and I got to get – I get it. Harsin was the complete opposite. It's like we're getting from one extreme to the other. But look, X's and O's are lacking. I think we could all admit that. The schemes, the play calling, the execution, all that's lacking. Does there need to be a little more time spent on that instead of having Alvin Henderson walk into the locker room with you at halftime? I'm sorry, but I think he needs to kind of draw that in a little bit.
It's going to be a long week. We're going to talk about it every step of the way. And of course, also Auburn, Mississippi State. Very winnable game. In fact, if you don't win it, I think it's very bad. It's very bad if you lose to Mississippi State. So we'll certainly preview that game throughout this week as well. Darrell, how can people check out everything that you have going on?
Follow me on Twitter, DAP6410. I'll be talking about this Monday morning at 7:10 on the Auburn Network, and then also Tuesday at 3:30 as well. And then we'll be back with you next Friday, my friend.
Yes, and you can read all of my written work at auburndaily.com. Click that subscribe button, like the video, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.